the way that team played, a road win against Oregon, total domination in the regular season. Fernando Mendoza has been good in critical situations, but it's the defense for Indiana that is so interesting in a national championship race. Give me the Hoosiers at 1.
I like that. Now we got to move on to number 2. I think a lot of people are going to have the same team at number 2, and that would be the Georgia Bulldogs for me. And here's why. I have Georgia moving up to number 2. I think if you look at this resume for Ohio State, their best win is a victory over a 3-loss Texas team. I think Georgia has more quality wins. I think you're talking about a Georgia team whose only loss is to a Bama team that could be in the final college football playoff. I've got Georgia moving up to number 2 with their resume. What say you?
So this is just what we would do.
It's us. It's me and you.
Not
this is me and you. We are the Braden Myron committee of the CFP.
Ohio State at number 2 for me. I don't think you can fault them for having played a basically even football game where if a field goal kicker just does his job from like the 12-yard line, or the quarterback doesn't fall down on the 5-yard line, Ohio State could easily be number 1. So that outcome to me, the actual score of that game means a lot less than the fact that those looked like 2 evenly matched teams. After 2 perfect seasons, I've got Ohio State at 2. I don't think you can move them down too far because of a basically even awesome football game in Indianapolis last night.
I think that's fair. Number 3 for me is going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes, who fell short against Indiana, but clearly a great season, and they're going to get a bye in this playoff.
I would put Georgia at 3. Again, I do not do much with the conference championship game. Incredible performance. Maybe it changes the way I think of them as a national championship team, but I don't think you should move up a lot for a championship win. I don't think you should move down a lot at all. So I'm going with Georgia at 3.
Number 4, I think most people have Texas Tech. Lone loss was to Arizona, but that's also an Arizona game where Baron Morton wasn't playing. I believe he was hurt that game.
Yep.
Texas Tech's your number 14.
I totally agree. I've got Tech at 4. The defensive front 7 is what makes them a fascinating and worthy team of being here because the offense is kind of just like good. It's not elite. It's really good. To your point, they lost the game without their quarterback. If you want to debate the rest of these teams to be ahead of them, we can. Every time I do that, though, I go, you know what? I'll take that Texas Tech front 7. They've earned it. Conference champs. I'm putting them at 4.
I like that. Number 5, to me, Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss in that number 5 spot. I thought the committee might knock them with Lane Kiffin disappearing like a thief in the night, going over to LSU. Didn't seem to care. I'd like Ole Miss and sort of the wins that they have. Obviously lost to Georgia, but they beat Oklahoma. It's a big win for them. A lot of dominant victories this season. They beat LSU when people thought they were a good team. I've got Ole Miss in my number 5 spot.
Number 5 for me is Oregon. Their resume is not the best, but that does not. You are not the contents of your resume, just like you are not the contents of your khakis. You are a collection of coaches and players, and they have NFL players at every position. They have won almost every time they've played this year. They have won in hostile environments. They've played low-scoring games. They've played high-scoring games. They are extremely well coached. They have a rock star quarterback. I have the Oregon Ducks at number 5.
I like it. Number 6. To me, I'm putting Texas A&M. Obviously, that season-ending loss to Texas dropped them in the rankings, but they've got a big one over Notre Dame, a Notre Dame team that I think a lot of people assume will be in these final rankings. I think that has to count for something for a one-loss Texas A&M team.
Number 6 for me is Texas A&M. I agree with you. They got a great win over Notre Dame. They had some defensive questions, but one loss, got the job done. Give me the Aggies at 6.
Number 7, that's where I've got Oregon. I mean, listen. If we just do blind resumes, I think people would have a lot of questions about what makes Oregon the number 5 team in America. Got destroyed in a dominant fashion against Indiana at home. It's a 10-point loss, but it was much more than that if you watch the actual game. And then from there, their best win is a home win against USC. Beyond that, I don't think there's a lot holding up that Oregon roster outside of the brand name. That's why they're at 7 for me.
Number 7 for me is Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is a really, really good football team. They have been completely dominant since week 3. And the things that happened before that are so overblown. They were one play from having a win over Miami and one play from having a win over Texas A&M. And I don't think that 2 plays in the fourth quarter in the final possession of 2 games in the first 2 weeks makes you some like illegitimate playoff team. Most of the season, Notre Dame has been a great, dominant football team. I think the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are underrated and should be at 7.
This is where Matt will get really mad at me because I'm not going fast enough. So I think we got to speed it up. So I think I'm pretty slow here. Oklahoma at number 8 for me. Who you got?
I'm going Ole Miss at 8, and that's not because of Lane Kiffin. I just think that they don't have any one thing that they do elite. There's not the one thing.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to the Alabama Football Recap Show with Drew DeArmond and Steve Moulton. Smoked by Dreamland BBQ. Ain't nothing like 'em nowhere. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Drew and Steve.
Well, here we are. Normally, this is when I play all the highlights.
There wasn't many.
I think I'm going to skip that here this morning.
Yeah, there was one.
Touchdown, Alabama. Anyway, it is good morning. A big thank you to Dreamland BBQ for allowing us to be here each and every Sunday morning. And listen, I know it was not the performance you wanted to see, but nonetheless, the Alabama Crimson Tide, I think, have positioned themselves for a CFP bid. What do you think, Drew?
I think 10 or 11 seed, depending on James Madison, who I don't think deserves to be in. I mean, I think that's stupid. Why wasn't it the top 4 highest ranked conference champions? Why did they have to bring 5?
So the way Bill Hancock said it to us back in the day,
right,
was to give everybody an equal opportunity at making the field.
Socialist, in other words. But I mean, because I'm sorry, James Madison beat nobody to be in this field. You can even argue about Tulane.
And I watched a lot of that Tulane game on Friday. Not a playoff team.
I mean, they lost to UTSA big. Now, I love John Summerall, but they lost to him big. They didn't just lose to him on the last play of the game. They lost big. It was a mediocre UTSA team. Did they even qualify for a bowl? I mean, and we all know that Ole Miss smashed them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a whipping. So to me, if you put in a Boise State or a Tulane or a James Madison, you need to be undefeated, or you need to, if your loss has to be to, like, if Tulane had gone 11-1 with their only loss to Ole Miss.
So here is the All-State Playoff Predictor updates. This is through yesterday.
Yeah.
And your teams that are in are Ohio State, Indiana, Texas Tech, Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, James Madison, Tulane, Notre Dame, Alabama is at 82%, ahead of Miami at 22%, and BYU's at 1%.
BYU has no case. I mean, they beat nobody, and they got smashed twice by Texas Tech. Alabama split with Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Alabama got whipped yesterday, got out-coached. But Alabama also was limping in. And before everybody starts screaming, so was Georgia, I don't care.
So in terms of playoff resumes, if you go by what is on the CFP website, which is collegefootballplayoffs.com, the strength of schedule, strength of record, win-loss versus top 25, that all of them are led by the Alabama Crimson Tide. Strength of record, Alabama is 8th. Notre Dame is 13th. BYU is actually 6th, and Miami is 14th. Now, strength of schedule, Alabama is 11th. Notre Dame is 42nd. BYU is 34th, and Miami is 44th. Your win-loss versus top 25 opponents, Alabama is 2-2. Notre Dame is 1-2. BYU is 2-2, and Miami is 1-0.
Well, like I said, man, I don't think that Miami or Notre Dame beat anybody.
Yeah.
But I do think that they both deserve to be in. And I don't think James Madison. I think you can take one group of 5 or group of 6, and more than if you start taking more than that, then to me it's not the. I don't even think that you should take any group of 6. Okay, yeah, I think it should be the 12 best teams. Unless you're a Boise State and you go undefeated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Tulane did not. And they and even if their one loss was to an Ole Miss team that's in the playoff, it's still by 30. Okay.
That was their playoff resume builder.
Now, if it had been by a field goal or a touchdown, that's a different conversation completely. All right. But if you're going to take one, though, I think it should be Tulane over James Madison because they played a tougher schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, I think you should be taking Miami Hurricanes. I think Miami, Alabama, and Notre Dame should all be in the field. Okay? And
give me the 12 let's get rid of the automatic qualifiers just across the board. Let's just get rid of all the automatic qualifiers and pick the 12 best teams. And if that's 6 teams from the AAC, then by all means. Well, I'm not sitting here just honking for the SEC. I want the 12 best teams to play football because we all want to watch good football.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think if you wanted me to seed the teams, my number 1 seed is Indiana. By the way,
oh wow,
hey, Ohio State, you laughing at them now?
Wow,
you laughing at them now? Oh, the Ohio State Buckeyes, they're the greatest team in history. That's what I was hearing.
But I will
the greatest team of all time. Give me a break.
But Ohio State's, in my opinion, should be second.
Well,
I think my Ohio State should be second.
I don't. I think they should be third and here's the reason. Okay. Look, I think Georgia being the SEC champion and having only one loss.
And they redeemed it.
And they redeemed it emphatically over Alabama, who they lost to, 24-20 or 24-21, pardon me, 24-21.
That's right.
I think it should be Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State. I have no problem with Ohio State being no lower than third. They should not be. Texas Tech 4 because they've got one loss and they were extremely impressive in the Big 12. 5, I would probably say, if I had to, I guess Oregon. Oregon would be 5 for me. 6 would be Texas A&M because I think they're a little bit better than Ole Miss. 7 would be Ole Miss. 8 would be Oklahoma. 9 would be Alabama. 10 would be, and I'm just talking about because I'm not including James Madison.
Yeah.
9 would be Alabama. 10 would be Miami. 11 would be Notre Dame, and then 12 would be Tulane if you had to take one of the group of 6. Because and I know some people would raise hell, but here's why I dropped Notre Dame to 11, because they lost head-to-head to Miami. Okay, and that's got to matter. And then Texas A&M also beat Notre Dame. So
that's right.
That's how and then I just think Alabama's schedule strength would jump them over Notre Dame.
I personally think that we are going to see an SEC versus SEC matchup for Alabama, be it against Texas A&M or Oklahoma.
Well, the way I just drew up the bracket, Alabama and Oklahoma would be playing again in Norman.
I think there is in my opinion, a higher probability, just taking a look at ESPN research portal in front of me, that if I'm purely guessing, I'm going to say Texas A&M and Alabama will be squaring off in the first round of the college football playoff. Now, I don't know, but we're all about to find out. In fact, the show is currently on the air.
Have something to stand on. The resumes are complete right now,
well, Booger, he has yet to say a nice thing about Alabama, I think, in the history of Booger.
Now that the resumes are
because he has PTSD from getting his ass kicked all the time by Alabama. That's why.
How they lost yesterday, and so I can't wait to see how this committee brings Alabama in comparison with Notre Dame and Miami. That to me is fascinating.
And let's keep in mind some resumes were complete before yesterday. And let's keep that in mind. This is the first year I wanted to go 4. I thought it was great. I didn't want to go to 12. Then we went to 12, and I said, hey, man, this 12 was pretty doggone good. This is the first year I'd like to have more. Give me more. There are teams in this year's season, you can say Texas, you can say Miami, you can say Vandy. There are teams that won't get into this playoff that could absolutely get in and win it if they got hot. I wish we could expand it, but we can't. We only get 12, and it's a tough decision.
It's brutal. And like you said, I think whatever team's left out amongst those three could theoretically win 4 games in a row and go chase a championship. I think Alabama's in. I feel pretty confident in that because they created that precedent last year with how they handled SMU. They do not want to de-incentivize participation in a conference championship game. So I think Bama's in a good spot, which takes us to the conversation between Notre Dame and Miami. Mm-hmm. In an effort to have better perspective on that matchup, I went back and watched that game from week 1. Notre Dame had no idea who they were. They didn't know their offensive identity, and they have since improved greatly. If they played tomorrow, I'd pick Notre Dame to win that game. But they don't play tomorrow. They played in week 1, and I went back and watched it, and Miami handled them along both lines of scrimmage. And I think if the committee went back and refreshed their memory on what that game looked like, they might lean towards the Hurricanes over the Irish.
They have not done that in any of their rankings up to this point, and with neither of them playing, that would be a question to be answered if, in fact, that's the decision that they ended up making. Kirk Herbstreit is with us now. Kirk, you've watched this from the beginning. You've covered this sport and been part of this sport your entire life. What are your expectations, and what level of controversy do you expect, regardless of the decision that's made by the committee?
Good morning. Yeah, you guys are all over. Let's not forget Duke winning as well. So more than likely get an opportunity to see Tulane and JMU, more than likely, I would think, get into this thing. But I think how they handle BYU, BYU losing a bonus game, as Greg just alluded to, are they going to be punished for losing the second time to Texas Tech, therefore putting Miami right next to Notre Dame? That would give Miami the head-to-head that they've been clamoring about for weeks and weeks. That'd be the first time they'd be right next to each other. That would put Miami in. And I think, Boog, I'm with you. I think it's more of a Notre Dame-Alabama debate. I think that's probably what's given them the most headaches throughout the night and trying to figure out, well, Notre Dame has this eye test. They're playing really great football. Yeah, but Alabama went to Athens. They went to Athens and beat the same team they lost to in the bonus round. So, Greg, I think this not just the game, the way it went with Miami and Notre Dame, I just think Alabama, it'd be interesting to see how they handle that when it comes to that big data point of going to Georgia and winning that game. That's going to be an interesting way to see how they decipher between Georgia beating them yesterday and Alabama winning in Athens.
Kirk, how would you evaluate these teams? Not just in terms of picking a winner, but like what would you value the most in evaluating teams who are close together and both have different points on their resumes or on their bodies of work?
Well, I just think if it's Miami and Notre Dame, I think the head-to-head finally at the end of this, when the dust settles, I think they're close enough that where the head-to-head comes into play. I think that's a significant data point that will give Miami the nod. That just based on the way they've taught us over these years, I think that if they're 2 or 3 spots away, I don't think head-to-head would come into play. But I do think if you get close enough, I think that's a pretty strong argument. Obviously, head-to-head should matter. Then I think with Notre Dame and Alabama, that's so difficult. I mean, and Joey's right. You can throw Texas into that argument, Vanderbilt into that argument. It's very, very tough how you separate those teams because I think we all love how Marcus Freeman's team is playing on the field. How can you not? And then you could say, yeah, but who have they beaten during this 10-game winning streak? What really stands out? They went to Pitt. They beat USC. But is that enough?
Is this a real debate that I'm listening to right now? Are you not? I'm fully expecting Notre Dame to be in the field.
I would think so.
This is why I wanted to jump in because they're having a debate between Miami and Notre Dame, and I know there was a head-to-head. I know it was early, but the committee has shown us over the last month how much they love Notre Dame. Yeah, I don't understand this debate.
I would think Notre Dame would be in. I would think that Miami should be in, but they're just automatically putting James Madison in, I guess, because of this stupid, top 5 ranked.
Nick Saban is about to jump on the program. Hopefully he will not drop a BS. I'm not going to say exactly what he said, but by the way, that was fantastic yesterday morning for those of you that tuned in.
Now 7-time national champion. Nick, as you look at the end of the line here, what's the best way to evaluate teams when you have teams like Notre Dame, Miami, Alabama, even Vanderbilt, Texas, BYU, who have things in their favor, but is not really as clear cut. What would you do in terms of best evaluating these teams?
Well, I think it's very clear that there's 7 teams that have established themselves as the 7 best teams. And, even Oklahoma, to me, has an impediment. They had a tough time scoring points all year long. Notre Dame started out not so good, not great schedule down the line, but playing very well and from an eye test, looked like a great team. Then you got Miami, who finished strong but stubbed their toe in the middle. Then you got Alabama, who probably had the most impressive run in the middle of the season when they beat Georgia, and then beat 3 or 4 more ranked teams at the time, all in a row. And now lately, for whatever reasons, and injuries are a part of the game, and you have to be able to overcome them, they're not playing as well as they did earlier in the season. And then you have arguments for people like Vanderbilt and Texas, and even maybe BYU, and the whole question of how does playing in a conference championship game really impact your season when other people are staying home, and how can they get pushed ahead of you because of that? So there's a lot of issues. Right now, if we had AI and they had all the information, they would have one hell of a time trying to figure out what this committee's got to figure out in terms of these last 3 or 4 teams.
That's the point, Nick. I think there are going to be long-lasting ramifications no matter what they decide. What impact would it have on the conference championship games if Alabama's left out? What impact is it going to have on scheduling should Miami be left out? And Notre Dame, are they going to look at them and say, well, you're not even, there's not even a possibility of playing in a conference championship game, but still, it's Notre Dame. You leave them out, and you also have evaluated the entire time of the rankings that you think they're better than Miami. So there are a lot of things to deal with. Now, 5 reports.
All right, they are going. What was on your mind there?
No, I mean, they talk about schedule strength.
Yeah,
but Alabama has a higher strength of schedule than just about anybody they're talking about. And they did win those games.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I know that they didn't look great against Georgia, but Georgia's a great football team, too, that's only lost 1 game all year to Alabama. So I think that matters. I think Alabama is one of the 12 best teams. Now, they're not going to host. They shouldn't.
No, absolutely not. Yeah,
they should be traveling, and they're going to be an underdog, and that's
Alabama's strength of schedule from ESPN is 11th in the country.
And I think that's I question.
Notre Dame's 42nd, BYU's is 34th, and Miami's is 44th.
I mean, how the heck is BYU's even 34th?
I'm just telling you what's – I don't know.
I think Alabama's is how it's not in the top 10 blows my mind.
Yeah.
And even the top 5. How in the hell is it only 11th with who they played? I mean, I'm sorry, and where they had to play them. I mean, that's ridiculous. But, I felt like Alabama was one of the 12 best teams last year, but I wasn't expecting them to get in because they lost to 2 mediocre teams. Vanderbilt was a pretty good team. They're a really good team this year. And then Oklahoma was not good, and they blew both of those games.
Is this Alabama team this year better than last year's Alabama team?
I think so. I think they're better. I mean, I think especially defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a year 2 under Kane, and they've been better. And when this offense has been healthy, it's been good.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, you saw a shell of an offense against Georgia. I know that everybody wants to complain about the plan, but when you ain't got the dudes, when 2 of your top 3 running backs are not there, Daniel Hill is not completely healthy. You don't have Cuevas, which is huge.
Yeah.
The 2 freshman tight ends, Pritchett and Edwards, did a nice job, but you don't have the best player.
I really felt
guy.
like that injury report all week long.
It was just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, that's what I felt like it was.
And then even the offensive line, Parker Brailsford was playing on one leg. Cam Dewberry wasn't completely healthy. It's just a fact. I don't want to sit here. I'm not. And Alabama, I think, they would have had a hard time winning the rematch at 100% if they were 100% healthy, because they were very fortunate to win the first one.
No, if Jam was healthy, if Cuevas was healthy,
if Georgia was completely healthy, but I think
they played without Drew Bobo. That was a big key,
and they had other guys banged up. I think Georgia,
but Bowen's being healthier.
Yeah,
it showed.
I just think Alabama would have lost a close game. Okay, and then we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yeah,
but again, I'm not.
So this is year 2 for Kalen DeBoer. Remember, in year 2 for Nick Saban, he went to the SEC championship game and lost to Florida. Now, yes, it looked a lot different because it felt like that. Remember that game? It was a back-and-forth deal.
It was the national championship
It really
game.
was. And I know Alabama did not look good yesterday at all.
No.
But he still made the SEC championship game. And with all the factors that are around college football, and you can call it, just pandering, whatever, I don't see it. If you truly are just mad and want to get rid of Kalen DeBoer, which I've heard over and over, I think it's ridiculous.
Stupid. Anybody that wants that to happen is stupid. I read a post last night. You think Lane Kiffin's got an out in his contract? What has Lane Kiffin ever done? Has he even ever coached in an SEC championship game? No.
Well, as a coordinator.
As a head coach. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. He's never won anything.
I am answering your question.
Guy's the most overrated puke in America.
I'm sure it'll end well down there.
I'm sure it will too.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it burn.
They have just headed off to a break. Remember, strength of schedule, head-to-head competition, then comparative outcomes of common opponents, and the unavailability of key players and coaches that may affect past performances or likely will affect postseason performance is part of the discussion points inside the selection committee.
I'm not as down on Grubb as others are, okay? Because he doesn't go from you think he's done a great job earlier in the season to all of a sudden he's an idiot. All right, he doesn't have
all the pieces.
He doesn't have all his pieces there.
Keep in mind the SEC just bumped up Friday from 85 scholarships to 105.
Well, and in my opinion, I'm more watching the offensive line coach and the special teams coach. Special teams especially, because Alabama got a punt blocked again.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything in the return game all year. The special teams needs a jolt. It hasn't. The kicker was inconsistent. The punter was inconsistent, even though the punter was more solid than anything. They've even had snapping issues.
Yeah,
I don't think the special teams coach is very good, and his ass ought to be on a Greyhound bus as soon as the season ends.
We've got time to take a couple of calls, 256-576-4977, and let's head out to line 1. Good morning. You're on the Bama Recap Show, smoked by Dreamland BBQ. Who's this?
It's Ray Dog.
How we doing,
What's up,
Ray
Ray?
Dog?
Now, I'm going to make a quick point, and then I'm going to get to my point.
All right.
I was watching on WZZN TV. Given the events of yesterday, Drew, I need to know why you did not sneak some royal blue into your ensemble this morning.
I mean, I was proud for him. I mean, I watched it. I was laughing because, I've got family that's a Virginia grad, and he guaranteed a win. He bulletin boarded it last week, said, we're going to whip the Blue Devils. And I said, well, it's a great opportunity for Virginia football. And then Virginia football is what it is, losers.
I did not watch 1 second of that. I was just glued to the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
game.
we were watching that on the bus back. That was a high-level football game. And I'm glad the arrogant pricks from Columbus missed a 20-yard field goal and lost the game. And they still got a chance to win a national championship.
Yeah, they do.
So be it.
Yeah, same score as the game from last year.
So much for being the greatest team of all time.
That being said, let me get to what they're talking about. We like data points.
Yeah.
And I understand everything that's been said. All of that being said, if the committee is looking at it the way they say they're going to look at it, on 9/27, on a neutral site, they tell us Alabama won that game by a touchdown. 10 weeks later, they lost by 3 touchdowns.
And it wasn't a neutral site. They played Georgia on the road. That was in Athens.
No, they did, but they won by 3.
Yeah.
You give the home field advantage is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Let's just call it a touchdown.
Yeah.
That is a 4. Well, that's an even game. It's a 3 touchdown swing in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
to tell me we're just going to kind of gloss over that, I think is ludicrous in the extreme.
I need to go back and check out that concert yesterday. Ludicrous.
Yeah.
And yes, anybody who, I said it yesterday on Threads, anyone who wants Kalen DeBoer gone, that is suicidal to the athletic department as a
No, I
whole,
think Bama needs to do it. Alabama absolutely needs to get rid of Kalen DeBoer. Yeah, just get rid of him and hire somebody else. Absolutely.
Go hire Lane Kiffin. That's everybody's answer. He can get out of his contract at LSU. The man that's never won anything. A mirage.
Hey, Auburn guy, you know why you're not great at football consistently? Because you could have had a coach last year, and he just won the Big Ten championship, and he's going into the playoff as the overall number 1 seed. You could have had that dude.
But see, here's the issue too, Ray Dog. You knew who he was. I did, but the 75% of America had no idea who Kirk Cignetti was when he got hired at Indiana.
Yeah,
they didn't know who the hell he was.
Well,
but he did a hell of a job at smaller places.
Year, the second he said, "You know what? Go look at my record. I win everywhere." Like that's energy Auburn needs.
Yeah, I don't.
An arrogance Auburn needs. It's an edge.
Yeah, I think they should have hired John Summerall, but they screwed that up.
Well, Auburn does Auburn things. See you guys.
Thank you, Ray.
I need to take this phone call for my own livelihood. Good morning. You're on the Bama Recap Show, smoked by Dreamland BBQ. Good morning. Who's this?
Good morning. It's Haley.
Hey, Haley.
What's up?
I do have to say, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. I'm just going to stop there.
Okay.
Love y'all. Bye.
Love you too. That is my wife, who is a Georgia fan.
2-10 ain't bad. And the two mattered a lot.
Yes.
A national championship and an SEC title, because that's what elite teams do. They play against each other. When they're two of the top 12 teams in America and they're not playing in the Bush Leagues called the ACC.
Love you, honey.
Which is basically, and let's not get it twisted. You know what nobody else is mentioning? Notre Dame is basically an ACC team.
I mean,
because that's who they play
how much longer
against.
can we have this conversation about Notre Dame not being in a conference and it not mattering? It should matter. It really should. Just because they have history and the dome, and sooner or later, it's got to matter. I think it should matter. And this is 2025, and Notre Dame is still getting away with just scheduling who they want. And the one time they were in a conference is when they had to be in a conference because of COVID.
Yep.
So everything is just catered, and let's just bend over backwards for Notre Dame.
Yeah. And like I say, I think they're one of the best 12 teams. But again, I don't think they should be seated ahead of Alabama. I think they should be seated 11th.
They played an extra game. Now, I know you didn't hear what John Gruden had to say, but the idea of adding extra games this past week, yesterday.
Yeah, playing games.
Essentially, and keeping championship weekend as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really like.
Yeah. And then these teams don't get this week off where everybody just kind of gives them a pass.
Yeah,
I agree with Coach. And again, it was not a good performance by Alabama, okay? But you're being disingenuous if you don't take into account the injuries. I'm sorry, it was. You can talk about, Ray Dog talked about a 3-touchdown loss, and I know Georgia was banged up too, but Alabama, it wasn't the same Alabama team, all right? And Alabama didn't make plays, and that's on Alabama. You got to catch the football. You got to take advantage of opportunities. But I'm just telling you, I agree with Kalen DeBoer. See, all these people were coming at me with stuff, and I had
all right. Wait a second. Let's
playoff rankings. It is the Big Ten champion, Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana #1 for the first time in school history.
And there wasn't an easier call made today than Indiana #1. And my vocabulary is not deep enough to say what I think of what Signetti has done at Indiana in the past 2 seasons. Last season, it was sort of like, okay, Indiana's a pretty good team. This is a 1-year run. And then to come back and do what they did in this season, they hadn't won the Big Ten since 1967. This football team is legitimate. I didn't understand how good they were on the defensive side and what they did in that game against Ohio State.
This is their first outright championship since 1945. Wow. Just this year, they got out of the cellar for the losingest team in the history of the sport. And now they go into this playoff #1, the Signetti turnaround. With all due respect to Bill Snyder of Kansas State, the greatest turnaround in college football history. Ohio State and Indiana just flipped spots. So the last 2 national champions have been from the Big Ten, and 1-2 will again be from B1G.
And I think Ohio State, a little bit of question. Would it be Georgia at 2? Would it be Ohio State at 2? Either way, I don't think you can really go wrong. Ohio State's looked dominant all season long. They did not play well offensively last night. They struggled in protection. Julian Sayin missed some throws, and they missed a chip shot field goal that would have potentially pushed that game into overtime. And the committee has looked in the past at, hey, good loss, close loss, we're not going to crush you for it. They don't in the case for the Buckeyes as well, and I think it's probably makes a lot of sense to have them at 2.
Now, we've talked about this quite a bit. Remember, this is different from last year, the first year of the 12-team field, when you had the 4 highest-ranked conference champions getting the byes. Now it's just 1 through 4, no matter what conference you're from. So you have 2 Big Ten teams at the top of the bracket. At #3, we presume will be SEC champion Georgia, and it is. The Bulldogs avenged their regular season loss to Alabama with an impressive performance in Atlanta yesterday.
Without a doubt. And we came into this thing, I was talking about identity. And when it comes to identity, no one knows who they are more than the Georgia Bulldogs. They are a physical team, and they'll take you to the phone booth. And if you can't deal with them in the phone booth, you got no shot of beating them. Controlling the line of scrimmage. They held Alabama to -3 yards rushing. Hello. And you talk about Gunnar Stockton, his ability to improve throughout the season. And the defense was young early on, but they're seasoned veterans now. I don't think anybody wants to see this version of the Bulldogs.
Somebody's going to, but you'll have to win a game to get there. Remember, last year Georgia got a bye. Didn't work out well for them. Notre Dame beat them in the Sugar Bowl. They'll try to put together a better run this time around. #4 in the final bye, meaning not getting a home game. And this is the only bad thing about Big 12 champion Texas Tech. Man, Lubbock would have been electric for a home game on campus. But the Red Raiders, Big 12 champion, their first conference championship since 1954. And the Red Raiders are seeded 4th, and there they are in Lubbock celebrating what Joey McGuire and company have done.
Yeah, and what they were able to do is beat BYU again. They forced 3 turnovers, beating the first time in the regular season, came back and did one better, forced 4. That defense against BYU was outstanding. That is a football team. We talked about their offense. Their defense is about as good as we've seen in the country.
So Texas Tech goes in, and you know what? I believe with that defense, they can make a run. I'm not going to be shocked to see them in the national championship.
That front 4, how they get after the quarterback.
No doubt. Well, we have David Baylor, Mello Hyde in the middle, Lee Hunter, defense, and Jacob Rodriguez, best linebacker in the country, might be a Heisman Trophy finalist, if not winner. Now, team that has a home game, seeded #5. The Oregon Ducks. So 3 of the top 5 teams in the country are from the Big Ten. Dan Lanning's team will open in Eugene.
And I just love when it comes to Oregon, they know who they are. Dante Moore's been playing outstanding. Kenyon Sadiq, the best tight end in America. The physicality they exude. Another team that understands what their identity are. Haven't always played up to their par throughout the season, but they're starting to click on all cylinders. And it's going to be a tough ask. Whoever has to go to Eugene and deal with the Ducks at Alton.
And I think this upcoming number is the first one where there could be some drama at 6, because you look at it, all assuming that 11 and 12 are going to be G5 teams that won their conference. 6 versus 7 is potentially significant when you take into account what your first-round matchup might be. So will it be Ole Miss like it was last week, or will it be A&M, who dropped big time after the loss to Texas?
Greg, that is a tremendous setup because it plays a huge role in who your first-round opponent is, and it is Ole Miss, Pete Golding's team now seeded 6th. They'll play at home against the 11 seed once we get that, which will be one of the last 2 highest-ranked conference champions.
And Oxford is going to be buzzing down there. Good for Pete Golden. He's now the permanent head coach. Lane Kiffin, the coach of LSU, allowed the OC, Charlie White Jr., to come back and call the plays. So now they have the staff together, and they're ready to make a run. Trinidad Chambliss, Kawan Lacey, this defense, they feel really good about what they have now in Oxford, Mississippi.
So Ole Miss will have a home game, the biggest game in the history of Ole Miss football.
The Grove will be buzzing.
It will be. Yeah. They will win the party, and they'll try to win the game. Another home game, seeded 7th. Gig'em, Mike Elko's team, lost its regular season finale at Texas, kept them out of the SEC championship game. Good consolation prize, home game with the winner getting Ohio State.
And I got to be honest, if I'm A&M, I have a bit of a gripe, frankly, because A&M, you look at their strength of schedule played, they're sitting there at 16. They're sitting 1 spot behind Ole Miss, whose strength of schedule resides at 41. You can say, well, the best win for Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Well, they went to Notre Dame and knocked off the Irish, who might be a top 10 team and a college football playoff team as well. So the first disagreement I have so far, but still, A&M, excellent football team. It'll be a difficult matchup for everybody.
And then the final team to get a home game in this year's college football playoff, Oklahoma. Now, the Sooners have struggled mightily on offense. Their defense is tough, and we have 3 SEC home games.
And you mentioned the offense. I don't know that I've seen a team in the past few weeks that have defensively made plays when they need to, whether it's a blocked field goal, whether it's a pick 6. When their offense has been struggling, the defense has stepped up and made plays, created opportunities to make it easier on their offense. If they can play that way, they have a chance to make a run, but the offense has to get better.
Okay, these are the teams that have the home games, and while I agree with Greg, there's a lot that you could dispute about Ole Miss and Texas A&M in the order there. This was a relatively easy part for the committee. Okay, now, because of what we mentioned, again, I just want to emphasize this. I'm not trying to talk to everybody like they're kindergartners, but just remember, 2 more conference champions have to go into the field. They are highly unlikely to be ranked in the top 12, so they're going to displace 2 teams in the rankings. So that means there are only 2 spots left. These are the contestants. Alabama, which lost in the SEC championship game, and the much ballyhooed debate between Notre Dame and Miami. So, number 9, who will go to Norman to take on Oklahoma? And it's Alabama, who didn't move. Maybe the game that had Alabama sitting on the bubble, they'll get a chance to avenge that game.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this, you kind of saw it going in this direction already with Ohio State being 2. A team that also lost their conference championship game. They weren't overly penalized. They dropped just 1 spot and flipped the team right behind them to acknowledge the head-to-head. I think they clearly drew conclusions about Alabama based on a 12-game sample size. And that's the way it should be evaluated when you take into account the teams they were being evaluated against had just 12 data points to evaluate. So Alabama needing to get back on track offensively, need desperately to get healthy. But they have an opportunity, like you said, Grease, to avenge that regular season loss.
But, I will say this. I understand the concept of not being overly punitive for a conference championship game. But if you're going to play them, they need to have stakes both ways to win the conference championship. And what happens if you lose?
They have to count somehow. And we're talking about Alabama maybe having the best win in the sport by going to Athens. They also have one of the worst losses by losing to Florida State.
Question.
So we just cannot erase that. I'm surprised at this move right here.
Okay, but one thing, we'll have time for this. You have to define loss by record. Absolutely. If you go by power rankings, Florida State's still top 30. I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just saying all of these things you factor in and try to define them. So now we're basically back where we started. There's 1 spot left in terms of at-large teams, and it almost certainly is going to be Miami or Notre Dame. So, number 10, and it is Miami. Without playing on the final Saturday, Notre Dame had been ranked ahead of them the entire time. And now they flipped them, Joey.
Yeah, this is very strange to me. And again, Reese, you mentioned earlier that they hadn't compared these 2 teams. Well, why not? They should have absolutely compared these 2 teams. We had a ranking come out on Tuesday. If they were going to flip these 2 teams that did not play They should have done it on Tuesday. Now, this Miami team, the way they're playing the last few games, they are a very good football team. They have a chance to win just like any other team. But it is strange to me that you have two teams that were sitting on the couch yesterday that somehow flipped in their rankings.
I would just say, and then I'll let you make your point, Booger. There's not a lot of difference in terms of the entire body of work if you're looking at the analytics. Notre Dame's a little bit higher in FPI, which is a forward-looking measure. They're basically the same everywhere else.
So here's the thing, to your point. We do this week in and week out.
Yes.
It's a beauty pageant. Now that the season is done, it's a resume contest. And so it's very easy to go back and compare these two teams when it comes to the resume contest, because now the head-to-head has to come into effect.
Their resume didn't change from Tuesday.
I know, but everybody's resume is complete from the standpoint of
Their resume was already complete.
But
today doesn't change their resume. It was complete when we had the ranking on Tuesday. And so if we're going to make sense of this, as we're trying to watch it play out, if you wanted to make sense, then make sense. If the resume was done on Tuesday, and on Tuesday Notre Dame was a better football team, and the resume has not changed a lick. Two teams were sitting on the couch. Somehow that flipped.
There was one team between them and BYU that lost. It's now moved back. Now, if they're right next to each other, we're assuming BYU's moved back. We don't know that for certain.
Yeah, but Greg, it's true. But the way they do it, it's in larger groups. They should have already been compared. I don't differ with the decision.
Correct.
But now nothing. I agree with Joey. Nothing's changed.
Makes fair enough.
But everybody's resume is now done, and at that point,
their resume was already done.
But the entire season is now done, and now we have to compare the head-to-head, guys, and that's what rules.
It should have been. And they should have gone back and watched it like I did, and I think several others did. When you watched that game, it might have been a 3-point margin. It felt like
what
more.
What makes you think they didn't?
They did. I think they absolutely
did. They probably did.
So they probably did.
Now, this is obviously the most hot-button topic among these three teams, and we'll have plenty of time for that. But there are two more teams waiting.
Oh, we got two more.
We've got two more conference champions to get in. You have to have 5. So the 4th highest-ranked conference champion, number 11, is Tulane. By the way, this just in. We've seen this before. Ole Miss won by 5 touchdowns in the regular season when they played Tulane, champion of the American, had a terrific season, but the Green Wave at their watch party in New Orleans, and there they are. John Summerall, before he heads off to be the head coach of Florida, will coach his team throughout the playoff. And how about that? There's another little twist on this matchup. John Summerall is going to Florida. Pete Golding's now permanent head coach, but Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin.
You mentioned the 5 touchdowns. We also saw Duke in Virginia. It was a rematch last night, and Duke came out. Duke lost by 17, I think, the first time. So just because it was a blowout the first time doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a 5 touchdown. John Summerall is a good coach. I think he'll have his team ready to play.
Okay, let's go to the last spot, the team that will go to Eugene to take on Oregon. And it is James Madison. So you have two groups.
There you go. There is your rankings as it stands. As your 1 is Indiana, 2 Ohio State, 3 the Georgia Bulldogs, 4 Texas Tech, 5 it'll be Oregon taking on James Madison. The 6 is Ole Miss taking on Tulane. The 7 Texas A&M taking on the U.
Yeah.
And the 8 is Oklahoma, Alabama.
Here's the thing, too, Steve. You asked me for the rankings before it was announced.
Yes, sir.
The only one that I would have got wrong was the 2 and the 3, which they made Ohio State the 2 and Georgia the 3.
And
if Notre Dame had been in this, and let me quite say this. First of all, I hate you. I'm glad. You've screwed people over in the past and got national championships you had no business getting, so karma's a bitch. Hope you enjoyed it. But let me also say this. I told you this before the rankings. I don't think there should be 5, conference champions. I think that was stupid.
I want the 12 best teams.
I think now that it's a group of 4, now I'll just say this, Steve.
First team out is Notre Dame. Second team out is BYU.
But let me just tell you this. Now, when the Pac-12 existed, you could have 5. Once they went away, they should have gone to 4. It should be 4 power conference automatic bids, okay? As far as, and what I mean by that is, like, you're going to get, and I think they should take out conference champion. I just think there's at least 4 from those leagues, one piece from those leagues, okay? But I'm just telling you, my rankings would have been nearly 100% accurate if Notre Dame were in the field like they should be. I'm laughing at them, but they should be. They should have been the 11, and Tulane should have been the 12. Because, okay, I'll give you one. You can have one group of 6, but there shouldn't be 2.
I just want the 12 best teams.
See, because
I want the 12 best teams.
If you notice, they did tweak it and say it's not the 4 the major conference champions that get the buys. It's just the top 4 ranked teams in their mind.
I am shocked that Alabama's not 10 at least.
But I thought Alabama in my rankings and how I would have picked it, they were 9. But I thought they would be 10.
I really thought and the committee has just loved Notre Dame.
I know.
I mean, just loved Notre Dame.
I think the committee got it right. I think Alabama should have been 9.
I'm not saying that they
because
got it
they had
wrong.
a better resume.
I'm just saying,
than Miami and
what
Notre
is the
Dame.
point of having this worthless show for the past month?
And I'm sorry.
What's the point?
But they're not talking about it enough. Miami beat Notre Dame. That's what it comes down to. They beat them. Period. But I'm just saying,
and that should have mattered. That should have mattered a month ago, Drew.
I know. I understand that. But I'm just saying, in the end, they beat them. But I'm also saying they should have tweaked 2 things after last year. No, in other words, it's not the 4 conference champions that get the bye, and/or I think they get. Well, they gave one to Boise State too because they were ranked in the top 5.
Remember they got a bye as well.
Because they were ranked. It was how high they were ranked.
Yeah.
But what they should have done after last year is throw out. It's got to be the top 4 or top 5 conference champions. Mm-hmm. It should have been thrown out, and it should have just been the top 4 teams. And then you have to take one team from those leagues. In other words, if with Duke winning the ACC, something like that happening, you take Miami because they're the highest ranked team. They're the best team.
And by the way, my ACC, you need to amend your tie-breaking rules. And put in there whoever's the highest ranked.
Oh, I understand. They should have been Miami
team.
Anyway. But congrats to Duke. But I'm just saying. They should have tweaked it and said, okay, we're going to take the top 4 teams, regardless if they're conference champions or not.
Yeah.
And then tweak it. You have to take one from the top 4 of at least one in each league, and then. But after that, it's what you said, Steve. It's the best teams after that.
Here is Coach Saban talking right now.
Right. I think the fact of the matter is all 3 of those teams should have gotten in and deserve the right to play, in the college football playoff. And for years now, we have kept tweaking the criteria of how we select teams to be in the playoff, whether it was a 2-team BCS, whether it's a 4-team playoff, and now a 12-team playoff. But really, I think that you're going to have 2 teams in the playoff, no disrespect to the group of 5, that are nowhere near ranked as highly as some other teams that are much better than them. And I think that maybe something that we can learn from this, because, to me, this has got to be devastating for Notre Dame's team. Not to get an opportunity to play in the playoffs, that we can learn something from this that will help us come up with a little better criteria of trying to make sure we get the best 12 teams in the playoff, and also address this whole idea of conference championship games and also the tiebreakers that get you in the conference championship game. And each conference has a significant impact, on what happens in this whole thing. So, I don't think there was a good answer for all this. I'm happy for the teams that got in, and I think the committee did a really good job. I just think there was one team left out that I just don't think should have been left out some kind of way, but there was no way around it.
To Nick's point, just to illustrate that, Miami lost out on a tiebreaker, 5-way tie for second place in the ACC. Had they played in the ACC championship game, since they were the highest ranked team, they would have either won their way in. It would have created another at-large spot instead of having 2 teams from the group of 5 if they had won, or they would have lost, and we wouldn't have had this controversy. Chris Fowler with us now. Chris, you've watched.
So there you go.
Well, like I said, I just think they should have tweaked it. After last year, there's no more there's not 5 major conferences anymore. There's 4. And the way they tweak it is you take one team from each of those conferences at least. You take at least one. So it doesn't have to be
I don't like that. I want the 12 best teams.
Well,
I don't want qualifiers at all. I want the 12 best
I understand
teams.
that, but I don't think anybody's ever going to go for that because they're going to be afraid the SEC will get 8 or 9. I'm just telling you, Steve. I'm just telling you how politics go. To me, you have to throw them a bone. You have to throw them a bone, and in most cases, I think each year there's one team from a league that will be good enough, like Texas Tech. To me, they're the only one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Miami, to me, was the only one out of the ACC.
So
and here's the thing about Notre Dame that pisses me off, because they give them a different set of rules because they don't make them join a conference. And you were in the ACC, basically, guys.
Because it was convenient for them, because that was the only way they could play and have a schedule.
And guess what?
And
you lost to Miami, so tough crap. But to me, there shouldn't be 5 automatic conference champions. That's 5 highest ranked, because James Madison had a hell of a season. But to me, they should not be in it. That should have been Notre Dame at 11. Notre Dame should have been the 11 seed. And what kind of atmosphere would you have with Ole Miss hosting Notre Dame?
Yeah.
People be going crazy.
Yeah.
Instead of having to see a rematch, and then John Summerall would have had to go to Oregon. So, and that's what should have happened to me. They actually got it right with Alabama. I thought Alabama would be the 10.
What do you think of the what do you think of the rematch?
I think Alabama's got a shot if they get healthy, because Oklahoma's not a great offensive team. But Oklahoma's one hell of a defensive team. But my God, you've got 2 weeks to try to prepare for their blitz packages that they did to you. All right? There's no excuse. You ought to be more well prepared this time, and you're going to be healthier. And I applaud the committee for this. They gave Alabama credit for their entire body of work. Okay? And they didn't hold it against them for playing in the championship game.
I really thought Bama was going to be 10.
I did too, but but remember though, I told you I would have had them 9 in mind.
Yeah.
They got it right. I think Alabama should have been the 9. And the only thing that I disagree with, I still think Georgia should have been 2 and Ohio State 3. I understand that was a field goal game, but Georgia's only loss was by a field goal to Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only small quiver I had. And then I didn't think James Madison deserved to be in. I thought Tulane deserved to be in as the 12, and then Notre Dame in as the 11. It's another thing, Steve. It's never going to get ratified unless you throw the group of 6 one bone.
Did you watch any? Well, no, I think you were doing a high school.
I went back and watched the highlights, and I did watch some of it. But Steve, I'm sorry, they're never going to go for the top 12. There's going to be too much hell raising. You've got to give them 1. They're going to get their ass beat most of the time.
I'll pull a Barney Fife on you.
Yeah.
You give them 5, they'll take 10.
Yeah.
You give them 10, they'll take 15.
I'm just saying, if you're going to get it ratified, okay? But that's all you're going to get. You're just going to get 1. And that's just the way it's going to be.
Another comment from Coach Saban.
Well, there's one thing I wanted to add, and, Chris kind of made it a point about the tweaking in the future, is I think you have 10 teams that are getting evaluated on one set of criteria in this year's polling, and you have 2 teams that are getting in the playoffs evaluated on a whole different set of criteria based on 5 conference championships, the highest 5 conference championships getting in. And I think some kind of way we've got to bring that to balance, that we shouldn't be evaluating teams in the playoff with a different set of criteria, which is definitely the case the way it had to be done this year, the way things worked out.
Amen. Amen.
And look, Steve, we always joke about how, they don't really care about storylines in the NCAA tournament when they match these teams up. Guess who Alabama plays if they beat Oklahoma?
Indiana.
And where did Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack coach?
That was running through my mind. I'm glad you went there, because I was about to end. I was going to try to end the show that way, but I'm glad you went there. You went there as well.
And it's going to be very difficult. I've seen enough of Indiana now. They are better than last year. They may be the best team in the country. If Alabama was blessed enough to beat OU, it's going to be very difficult to beat Indiana.
I tell you what, we have yet to take a timeout. I've only got 12 minutes in the show due to Alabama basketball. This is going to be a 1-minute break. A 1-minute break. For those of you that are on hold, we'll get right to you in 1 minute.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
show, because when it comes to football and ribs, everybody knows ain't nothing like them nowhere. Alabama football, Dreamland BBQ, the perfect team.
There is a large part of me that wants to hear Booger Mc. No, not at all. Let's head out to the phone lines. We've only got 11 minutes in the program. Alabama is the 9 seed taking on 8 seed Oklahoma, and the winner will take on the top seed overall in Indiana.
What bowl game would that be, Steve? I haven't even looked.
I don't know. I don't know that off the top of my
if
head.
you could get there.
I think the way it's situated, where Georgia will be, I think they'll be in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up.
Is that a record for how many times you play in Atlanta in 1 year?
It could be. It could be. Good morning. You're on the Bama Recap Show, smoked by Dreamland BBQ. Who's this? Hello? You are on the air, I believe.
Hello.
All right. Let's head over to line 2. Good morning. Who's this?
You guys got me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go
Loud
ahead.
and clear.
Roll it.
Hey, it's B. Rich.
What up, dude? You sound hoarse.
Man, I am a little hoarse. I said some bad things at the TV last night, but
It was
you guys
bad.
were asking about that first round, or if we were to beat Oklahoma,
right,
we would match up with Indiana in the Rose Bowl.
Cool.
Nice
trip there,
you.
man.
Thank you for that.
If they could possibly win
You
it.
know, that makes a lot of sense. Big Ten.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, you could get on here and pick. It was an ugly game last night. I'm not going to get on here and harp about that, but they let us in, man. They let us in. They.
And you have a chance to get healthy now.
Yeah, the SEC championship. If you participate in these conference championship games, especially in the Big Ten and the SEC, it's not going to hurt you. And I'm glad they stuck to their guns, and being the number 1 seed did benefit us. But yeah, it's all about getting healthy now and getting right, and just flush it, man. Like learn, if going out to Oklahoma may be great for us. If you don't turn the ball over, you get healthy. I mean, we've got plenty of film to watch. Oklahoma doesn't scare me offensively, but we all know what their defense can do.
Oh yeah.
I think this sets up. I think Bama got a very favorable draw into this bracket. I love playing Oklahoma first, and I'll take our chances with Indiana in the Rose Bowl on a big stage. I mean, they looked pretty good last night, but
yeah, they're good.
If you get in there, you got a chance to make some noise. So we'll see what happens. But I think we all know that getting healthy is the big key. But I really like the way it sets up. Not going to harp on that game yesterday. We just what do you say, Drew? Burn the tape, flush it, and just get better.
Get in the training room. And Steve asked me before we went on we had the rankings revealed. He said, "How would you rank them?" And I said, "I would rank Indiana." And then I got a couple wrong, but only because one of them is because the rule's stupid, because you shouldn't be taking the top 5 conference champions now that the Pac-12 is gone.
Mm-hmm.
But I said 1, and I said 2 Georgia, 3 Indiana. 3 Ohio State, pardon me. So I got Indiana right. I would have had Georgia 2 because of the SEC champ. They're only lost to Alabama. And then I would have had Ohio State, but it ended up being reversed. Then I said Texas Tech, because they were dominant in the Big 12. I said Oregon. I said Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and then I had Oklahoma.
McElroy did make a good point about resume-wise. I mean, between Texas A&M and Ole Miss.
But I don't like his point because Texas A&M.
But shouldn't it matter how tough of schedule that you did go through?
Texas A&M played one of the top 7 in the SEC. One of the top 7. One.
But analytically,
and they needed a miracle to beat South Carolina. All right, so
they did.
So I don't care. I don't mind that. And Ole Miss's only loss was at Georgia, and they led by 9 in the fourth quarter. So to me, 6 and 7. Then I had Oklahoma 8, and I did have Alabama 9. Be rich, but I thought they would put Alabama at 10.
I really thought,
and I thought they'd let Notre Dame in. But it matters head to head. So that's why Miami got it. And then again, I would have had Notre Dame 10. Or excuse me, I would have had in my poll if they did it right. Let me apologize. I would have had Alabama 9. I would have had Miami 10, Notre Dame 11, and Tulane 12. I don't think James Madison deserves to be in.
Who are the 12?
I think it's ridiculous.
But who are the 12 best teams? I mean, do you think
JMU is not one? JMU is definitely not one. I can tell you that right now.
Vanderbilt.
That's a joke, and I think
Is
Yeah, we're
Vanderbilt
seeing
a
the
top
depth of
12 team? Is Texas a
I'd
top
put
12
them in
team?
before JMU.
I would put Vanderbilt in even over Texas. I don't care if Texas beat them.
Utah,
because Texas
BYU,
lost to Florida.
I mean,
But I do
Hey,
think.
I'll tell you this.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you this, fellas. As soon as I saw Ohio State stick at the 2 spot and not be penalized for their loss, I knew Bama was in. I knew they were in.
That's a
As soon
good
as
point,
I
B.
saw
Rich.
Ohio State at 2. So, hey, roll tide, fellas. Y'all have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you, B. Rich. And that's a great point B. Rich makes because they did not really penalize Ohio State. They dropped them 1 spot. They just reversed it. So you should have seen that coming.
We saw this committee.
But I'll be honest, if you didn't. But I'm going to say it again.
Nick Saban made a great point.
The group of 6, you have to throw them a bone or they're never going to ratify the stuff. But I will say, if you wanted to ask me, Steve, if you don't include the group of 6, unless they're undefeated like a Boise State and been ranked high all year, who would I have put at 12? I put Tulane because I knew that had to happen because I'm like, you had to throw 1 bone. But if you gave me carte blanche, the 12 team for me is Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt, I know they didn't beat Texas, but I'm penalizing Texas because they lost to Florida and they needed miracles against Mississippi State and Kentucky. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think that's why I think Vanderbilt is the one team that has the biggest gripe on how this
because if you put a Texas helmet on Vanderbilt's uniforms, then people are clamoring for them to be in.
Yeah. And this is why I want the 12 best teams regardless.
I wish I'm like Joey Galloway. I wish hey, write that down because I just agreed with something Joey Galloway said. So
mark the tape.
But if it was 16 teams, then Texas and Vanderbilt are both in. The SEC gets 7 to me, almost half the field.
Miami went from 12 in the previous poll on Tuesday to in at 10.
Yeah. They beat Notre Dame. Sorry. Tick, 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 Steve. 3 more years, and it's 40. 3 more years. That's all we need. 3 more years, and it'll be 40. 40 years. What is Bino Cook saying up there?
Put some bubble wrap around Lou Holtz today.
Oh, my Lord. Please, somebody find Lou.
Wow. I just okay. Hunter Yurchuk is
my goodness
speaking. This is my favorite part of the whole deal.
Well, Freddie Kirby did tell you he told me to relay this to you.
Yeah.
About Barney Fife. Nip it in the bud.
That's right. All right. Here's the debate. This is they're debating between Miami and Notre Dame. They won. They won. So I tell you what. Instead of hearing from Hunter Yurchuk, we've only got 3 minutes left in the program. Anyway, out to the phone lines we go. It's the Bama Recap Show, smoked by Dreamland BBQ. Who's this?
This is Jeff from Huntsville. How you guys doing today?
Good, Jeff.
Good, Jeff. How are you, sir?
The committee got it right. Coach Saban had it on point. Alabama should have not been penalized for a loss yesterday.
And they weren't, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I don't think they were. They ranked them the exact same.
Yeah, and neither was Ohio State.
Right.
But Miami jumps up 2 spots.
Because they beat them. Because they beat them.
They also leapfrogged over BYU, a 2-loss team that lost to the same team twice.
By about 60.
I get that.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Coach Saban said it. This conference championship shouldn't count. I mean, they should have cut it. It's a pre-playoff game.
Yep.
Jeff, appreciate the phone
Thank
call,
you for calling.
All right. So, yesterday you can flush. You can now flush and get ready for Oklahoma. I'm assuming that is not going to be the standalone game. I wonder which one will be the standalone game Friday night. There's always one game on Friday.
I think they play the 19th, right?
Yeah, it's the 19th and the 20th. But
I think Alabama's playing the 19th.
It'll probably be Alabama-Oklahoma on the 19th.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So a little bit of time to heal up.
Hey, South Bend, have a watch party.
That is a week from Friday, by the way. We're speculating.
Before the game start, just if somebody find a DVD and convert it so you can stream West Virginia and Notre Dame in 1988, the last time they won a damn thing.
All right. Something tells me the Crimson Tide Sports Network may have a thing or two to say about this. Alabama basketball comes up next, and we're not done either, evidently. For the Bama Recap Show, smoked by Dreamland BBQ, please feel free to go over to our website, 977ESPN.com. Click on the Big Zone deals. You can enjoy $50 of Dreamland BBQ for just $25. Enjoy that this holiday season. We'll talk to you not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend. I'm going to be coming back again from Mississippi. Goodness gracious.
Another rematch.
Yeah.
I'll be in Orange Beach. May have to do it remotely.
Oh, wow. This will be fun. Talk to you down the road. Congratulations to Alabama.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. Your home of the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Roll Tide.
Fakes a pass. Now down